Between 1999 and 2000, more people died of AIDS in Africa than in all the wars on the continent. In 2000, Al Gore asked the UN Security Council to consider a health issue as a security threat for the first time in its 55-year history. Gore argued that the large death toll and the high infection rate in sub-Saharan Africa called for a drastic shift in our perception of international peace and security. In July of 2000, the UN passed a resolution in recognition of the concern that transmission of HIV in conflict situations could undermine peacekeeping missions. The UN Security Council resolution represented a significant departure from traditional security debates, which tended to focus on political, strategic, and economic causes and consequences of military conflicts between states. Now, HIV/AIDS is considered a serious threat to individual, community, national, regional, and even global security. The death toll from HIV/AIDS is expected to have a severe impact on many economies in the region. In some nations, it is already being felt. Life expectancies in some nations are already decreasing rapidly, while mortality rates are increasing. Throughout this semester, we've learned about different methods to change behavior, the international and local responses to HIV/AIDS, the effects on marginalized populations such as sex workers, and the effects on women, children, and the elderly. Today, Elena and I will discuss security concerns, conflict, and governance with respect to HIV/AIDS in Africa. As we've learned over the past 30 years, there has been a general trend towards freedom and democracy in sub-Saharan Africa. It is assumed that with democracy comes a rise of formal institutions such as the executive, legislative, and judicial branches, and subnational governments. Through these institutions, citizens and interest groups can influence government action. However, as Amy Patterson mentions, these institutions, with the exception of the executive, are underdeveloped in Africa. This means that policymaking has been concentrated in the executive, a situation with advantages and severe disadvantages. As we will come to see, one of the disadvantages is that AIDS has become political, a way for leaders to gain political clout and power. Alex de Waal argues that while Uganda's leader, Yoweri Museveni, initially contained the HIV epidemic and spoke openly to his country, later, AIDS became integral to his strategy for wielding power. Museveni began to broadcast his success and used HIV/AIDS for political credit to become re-elected over and over again. Ironically, HIV/AIDS has political benefits. From the readings, we also saw that HIV/AIDS is commonly approached as a health risk and rarely recognized as a possible symptom of the conflict itself. As we will see from Patel and Tripodi, many turn to sex for survival after a period of conflict and war. Sexual bartering, rooted in food insecurity, poverty, powerlessness, and displacement, is a widespread phenomenon of conflict and increases the risk of HIV/AIDS transmission. HIV/AIDS erodes institutional capacity, creates poverty and despair, and intensifies dependence on international aid. However, does AIDS have the potential to disrupt national, regional, or international security? Does war contribute to the spread of HIV? And are soldiers more likely to carry HIV? All these questions and more will be addressed in our presentation.